fiance pulled up this stunt a few days before our wedding, so I planned this for her. Hello, people of Reddit. Today I would like to share with all of you how I found out that my fiance was cheating on me just weeks before we got married. I ended my engagement with her after that. I, male 35, was engaged to my fiance, F, 33 years for 3 years. We were set to get married in June this year. Me and my ex-fiance had been together for more than 2 years. We went to the same college and knew each other from there. We weren't really friends or in the same group in college. We just knew each other, like acquaintances. It was after college was long over and I was already working in Wall Street that we met again at a friend's party, that we reconnected and started dating after some time. After 2 years of being together, I thought it was time to make it official, and then I proposed to her to marry me. My fiancée was working with her friend at a thrift store temporarily. She wasn't interested in working after marriage. I proposed to her to marry me when I thought I was financially ready to take care of my family and bear its responsibilities. Everything was going great. We were already living together and were all set to get married till I realized that something was with my fiancée. She stopped being her usual self. She used to make excuses every time I tried to get close to her. We stopped being intimate as she always made some excuses. She always said something about having too much stress as the wedding date was getting closer or having a headache. It did seem weird to me, but I told her it's fine. When I tried to talk to her about it, she told me it's the stress from the wedding preparations. It seemed reasonable. I discussed this with my friends on our guys' night. Many of my friends were married, some even had children. They told me that their wives had also started acting differently before their wedding as well. Apparently, it was common for brides to feel all giddy and panicky. This made me feel a bit better, and I let it go then. I wanted to help my fiancé with the preparations, but I had gotten a very important project at work, and I had to put all my focus on it. My promotion was dependent on this project. I told her that I felt bad that she had to do everything by herself. She told me it's fine, and besides, she had the help of my best friend. Yeah, so my best friend M35 was helping out my wife with the wedding preparations. We had been best buds since our school days, and he had been close friends with my fiancé as well. He was also my best man for the wedding. I was grateful that he got along with my fiancé really well. I didn't want that dynamic where my best friend and fiancé didn't like to see each other's faces. My best friend was going through a bad breakup at that time. His long-term girlfriend had dumped him over a call for someone she found on her vacation. It sucked big time. I thought that sitting alone at the house he shared with his ex-girlfriend could be hard to handle. The wedding preparations were a good way to keep his mind occupied. I was so ecstatic about getting married to the woman of my dreams that everything seemed perfect. Even putting long hours at work didn't seem to exhaust me, because I wasn't doing all this hard work just for me, but for my future family as well. I started noticing the signs that something was wrong at that time. Even though I was working long hours at work, it was my fiancée who would get home late. Even later than me, and I was already coming home late. I asked her where she was going all the time. She made some vague excuse as to how shopping is hard for a bride. "You won't get it," she had told me. I believed her at the time because in my head, I couldn't imagine her lying to me. Even though I tried to believe what she told me, something inside me told me that she's not telling me the whole truth. One day, it was a Sunday, and I had thought of spending the whole day with her without any work or distractions. But she had told me that she's going for a dress fitting. My fiancée was in the shower and her phone was in the bed. Her phone kept getting continuous notifications. I was sleeping, but I woke up due to continuous vibrations. I took her phone to see who's texting her so much. We both had Face IDs on each other's phones, and also knew each other's passcodes. However, her phone didn't recognize my face. I then put her passcode, but it said the wrong passcode. That threw me off. We had shared our passwords with each other soon after we started dating. We never saw it as much of a big deal. And now when we are so close to getting married, she has changed her passcode. When she came out of the shower and saw her phone in my hand, she panicked for a second, but quickly composed herself. I asked her why she changed her password. She seemed surprised by my direct question. She took a second to reply, and then told me it's because there are pictures of her wedding dress, and she doesn't want me to see that before the wedding day. Her excuse seemed plausible at the time, but I kept thinking that I never checked her phone anyways. She could have just told me this instead of changing her passcode. It was a small thing, but it was there in the back of mind all day. The next day while I was at work, my fiance's best friend called me. She told me that she couldn't reach my fiancé and they were getting late for the dress fitting appointment. I told her that she must be at home only. I asked her if they had the appointment the previous day. She replied to me like I was asking her a ridiculous question. The store was closed yesterday. She then hung up the call telling me that my fiancé had replied to her back. I was sure now that my fiancé was hiding something for me. She had definitely lied to me about going to her dress fitting appointment. Now I just had to find out what she was lying to me about. I thought that I wasn't going to ask her directly because I didn't want another bullshit reason fed to me again. I was still at work when I got a call from my best friend. The best friend who was helping out my fiancé with the wedding. He didn't call me much anymore, so it was quite a surprise to get a call from him. He was either at his office when I called him or helping my fiancé with some wedding stuff. He started talking to me, asking me how I was doing and all. I told him I was fine and asked him what's going on with him. We talked for a bit, and then he asked me if something was wrong. I contemplated if I should tell him or not about my fiancé's lie, but then went ahead with telling him about it. I told him how she told me that she was going to Atelier, but then her best friend called today and said that they have the appointment today instead of yesterday. "Oh bro, you're getting worried over nothing," he told me. I asked him how he was so sure, and then he told me that yesterday my fiancé had gone for the dress fitting for the dress she was wearing at the dress rehearsal, and today's appointment was for the wedding dress. I still didn't know if I should believe him or not. I asked him how he's so sure about the truth. He said that he knew as he was helping my fiancé with the wedding preparations, and that they were constantly in touch about everything related to the wedding. I believed him and even felt guilty for doubting my fiancé. My best friend's explanation seemed reasonable. He was talking more with my fiancé than he was talking to me. It was logical that he knew what was actually going on. I released a breath of relief and then got back to my work. Everything went fine for days after that. My fiancé was still acting differently, but it was the wedding stress. She had told me various times that everything will be fine. One day I told my fiancé that I'll get home late as I had a client meeting over dinner. She didn't seem disappointed or sad about the fact that I won't be home. She just told me, okay. However, the client meeting got rescheduled to the next day. When I went home, my fiancé wasn't there. It was already late. I called her up and asked where she was. She then lied to me and told me that she's at home only. She kept talking about how she missed me and was waiting for me to get back home. I heard her lying to me as I looked for her in the whole house. She finally asked me when I would get home. I told her I was already home and waiting for her. I then hung up the call. She got home within half an hour. I made a mental note to remember that she was within that distance. I wasn't going to trust whatever she told me now. My fiancé didn't come back empty-handed. She got all the groceries and stuff. I didn't even have to ask her to explain to me what had happened. She started explaining to me herself how she was going to cooking classes. She told me she was learning cooking as a surprise for me. That's why she didn't tell me that she wasn't at home. I told her that she need not lie to me for such small things. I told her that as my partner, I expect complete honesty from her. She nodded and then came and hugged me. I hugged her back, but my guards were up now. I tried to kiss her, but she turned her head and said that she should put the groceries in the refrigerator. I knew something was up with my fiancé, and I made it my goal to find out what. There were too many things to ignore. The lie she told me today, the lie she told me the other day, also how she changed her passcode. It wasn't making sense at all, but I was determined to find out the reason behind all this. That night, I laid down on my bed thinking about all the various reasons as to why my fiancé was lying to me. None of them really made sense except one. She was cheating on me. I felt a bit guilty for doubting the woman who was going to be my wife in a few weeks. But there was another thought as well. I should find out whatever is going on before our marriage. It would be a disaster if my suspicion comes true after we get married. I didn't want a life like that. I thought about sharing this with my best friend, but for some reason thought it was best if I didn't. He was already going through a bad breakup. Listening to my suspicion wouldn't be good for his mental health. I decided that I'm going to find out what's going on alone. It was better not to tell anyone because if it turned out that there was nothing to worry about, which I was really hoping for, I didn't want to trouble anyone for nothing. I started keeping an eye on my fiancé's activity. I checked the CCTV camera placed outside our home to see who all were coming to my house in my absence. The CCTV camera didn't give out anything. It was my fiancée living in the house shortly after I left for work and then getting home really late. I already knew that without the help of CCTV. I kept thinking as to what could help me more, but nothing came to my mind. I could have used her phone, but she had changed the passcode. There was only one option left. It was to follow her and see where she was going. It seemed a little too much to me, but I needed to find out the truth before our marriage, so I decided to follow her around. The next day, I told her that I was leaving for work. I left the house but didn't go to work. Instead, I parked my car a few lanes ahead of our house and waited for her to leave the home. I kept checking the front camera to see when she left the home. As soon as she left the house, I started following her, but keeping a lot of distance between my cars and hers so she doesn't get to know. She went to the thrift store and stayed there for a while before going to the florist. After that, she went back home. I felt like an idiot for doubting her when she was doing the normal things only. But those things she did were still stuck in my head. I thought that just because she didn't do anything different doesn't mean there isn't something. It'll just take time to figure it out. I thought I'll follow her for another day or two, and if I still couldn't find anything, then I would let this suspicion go. Finally, everything was fine when I got back home that evening. I repeated the same thing the next day. My fiancée didn't do anything out of the ordinary that day as well. I knew something was wrong, but she was not doing any different these 2 days. I got the suspicion that maybe she knew that I was following her, but I quickly shunted it out of my head. I haven't told this to anyone, and I also made sure that there was enough distance when I followed her car. The third morning, I got a call from my best friend regarding my bachelor's party. I told him I was good with whatever he liked to plan. There was a lot of sound in his background, some very loud songs. I knew it was an old Spanish song. I couldn't ask him where he was as I got another call from work. I had to urgently go to the office for some work. I thought that there wasn't much point in following my fiancée around anyways. She was doing the same things in her routine only. I went to the office and did some work. I got a call from our jeweler who was making our wedding rings. He told me that wife still hasn't given her ring size. They didn't have her number, so they called me. I then called my wife to ask her for her ring measurement. What surprised me as soon as she picked up the call was that in the background, loud old Spanish songs were playing. I asked her where she was, and she told me that she was with her best friend. Her best friend, not mine. I told her what the jeweler had said. She said that she'll go to the store in the evening and will give her ring measurement to them. I ended the call, but something wasn't sitting right. Maybe it was a coincidence that I heard loud old Spanish songs in the background of my fiancé and my best friend. But I didn't think it was a mere coincidence. I called up my best friend again and asked him where he was. He told me he had come to a cafe for a client meeting. My friend worked in an event management company. That's why he offered to help out my fiancé. However, when I heard a high-pitched laugh background, I knew who that laugh belonged to. My fiancé. The laugh immediately got silent. My friend made some excuse as to how he got to go and ended the call quickly. My fiancé, nor my best friend, had any reason to lie to me if they were together. I knew they used to hang out together regarding weddings and stuff. So why did they lie to me? I think in my subconscious, I knew the answer. I just didn't want to accept so quickly. I decided to keep quiet until I have something substantial to call them out. Instinctively, I didn't go directly to my house after work that evening. Instead, I went to my best friend's place. His car wasn't there. I checked the time. It was 6:00 then. I went to my house then. I checked the time when I got home, realizing it took me only 23 minutes to get home from his place. The night my fiancée told me she was coming from cooking class, it took her the same amount as well. At this point, I just knew that both of them were lying to me. I just needed to see from my eyes to confirm my suspicion. I went inside my house and my fiancée wasn't still here. I got freshened up and kept thinking about what's happening in my life. I was about to get married and my fiancée was cheating on me. And that too with my best friend. I still had a small hope that all my fears would go to vain and my suspicion would turn out to be wrong. I really hoped for it to be wrong. The next day, I again followed my fiancée. She still went to the thrift store like she normally did. She did all her usual stuff, and just as I was getting frustrated for not being able to come to any evidence, I saw my best friend entering the thrift store. This still didn't prove anything. Maybe he was just visiting to help her out with the marriage stuff. He came out of the thrift store after 45 minutes. I still have nothing substantial to either confirm or deny my doubt. It was really getting frustrating. The next morning, I was having breakfast, but then remembered that I had forgotten my file in the bedroom. I went to get it and saw my fiancée getting dressed after her shower. I was just passing by her when my attention fell on the hickey on her shoulder blades. It sure as fuck wasn't me who gave her that, because it's been more than a month since we got intimate with each other. I stopped by her. She seemed surprised as I stopped there. I traced my finger on the hickey. She shivered. It was the scary kind. I didn't even have to ask her who did it. She started her explanation on her own. You know, yesterday I was wearing off-shoulder tops and an insect bit me there. It hurt a lot yesterday. I told her that it doesn't seem like an insect. She got scared at that and started telling me more lies as to how it really was an insect and all. I didn't say anything after that and just got more determined to find out some bloody evidence against that, so I can finally confirm my suspicion. The first thing I did as I got in my car was to check the CCTV recording of the previous day. True to what I had thought, my fiancée wasn't wearing an off-shoulder top the previous day. I saw her getting in the car in some dress which fully covered her shoulder. Even though it was turning out to be completely useless, I spent that day as well following my fiancée around. I finally got something that day. I saw my fiancé going straight to my best friend's house. I saw him coming out and hugging her. They went inside and stayed there for almost the whole day. I knew that if I went there, my doubt would get confirmed and I'd find them in bed with each other. Instead of ringing the doorbell, I used the extra key my friend had given me long ago for emergencies. He had my house's extra key as well. I opened the door silently and went inside. I saw my fiancé's purse lying on the couch in the living room. I followed the way where the noise was coming from. I took light steps so I didn't make any sound and finally reached the bedroom. I could hear their voices clearly. My fiancé was telling him how I almost caught her today. You know, he saw the hickey. We have to be more careful from now. My best friend hummed something, and after that, all I could hear were sexual sounds. I opened the door very slowly and saw my fiancé in bed with my best friend. I took a photo of them with my phone and then shut the door. I had reached the living room when the door of the bedroom opened again and my fiancé came out laughing. I turned to look at her and her smile vanished as soon as she saw me. She was wearing my best friend's shirt and nothing else. She stood there frozen, and my best friend who followed her out also got frozen as soon as he saw me. I was so angry that I couldn't think anything straight. I just went and punched my best friend in the jaw. I told my fiancé that I didn't want to see her face ever again and stormed out of his house. I went straight home rather than going to work. I had no fucking energy for going to work. Even though I had my suspicion, this betrayal stung. My best friend and my woman. Just as I was getting out of my car, my fiancé had also reached home. I told her to get out of my property, but she didn't listen and followed me inside. She was in tears as she begged me to listen to her. I knew that nothing she could say would make it okay for what they had done. But I thought, why not? Let's hear this. I told her to speak. She first went into shock, wondering how I agreed, but then started telling me. All this started when she started planning our wedding. After my best friend's breakup, she said that she was just consoling him as he was really low because of the breakup, and then one thing led to another and they started kissing. It never meant to be anything more. I was just helping him and moving on, she said while crying. The audacity of this woman. You were helping him move on by sleeping with him. I spat in a harsh tone. She got tensed at my voice, but then started telling me how sorry she was and would do anything to make me forgive her. She told me how we had our whole life in front of us, and I cannot let it go because of one mistake she had made. The more she kept speaking, the angrier I got. She was telling me to let go of her cheating like it was nothing. I had told her how important loyalty was to me, and still she did that. I thanked my luck that I found this out before the wedding. Something came to my mind then. I could easily end our relationship right now and tell everyone that the wedding is off. The wedding was in 5 days. Or I could make her and my best friend actually suffer for the betrayal. I decided to go with the second one. I let my fiancé beg some more. She kept telling me how everything can be perfect from now on. She told me this is our chance to turn a new leaf and start our dream life together. I let her convince me about how I should not cancel anything and to let loose in the bachelor party. She told me that it was a one-in-a-lifetime thing. All our guests were coming before so they could attend the bachelor party as well. I thought it was perfect, and then agreed to not cancel anything. She couldn't believe that this was happening. She must have thought that there was no chance that I could forgive her for cheating, and she was right about that. She was just going to find out later what I did with cheaters. The day of the bachelor party came and I met my best friend again. He insisted that he came to my house instead of the club we were going to. As soon as he entered the house, he started telling how sorry he was and how he didn't mean to ruin my relationship with my fiancée. I told her it was okay and I forgave them. I told them that everyone made mistakes. I was giving them another chance. I went to the venue with him and met my other friends. Noon knew that I was faking it here and had no intention to actually do this or whatever. I acted like I was having the time of my life here. That night, I kept thinking about their betrayal. My fiancée was staying at her parents' house till the wedding, and that was for the good only. I didn't think I could see her face and not think about her betrayal. My thoughts went to the day he called me up and told me that she was going for the dress rehearsal dress fitting. He lied to me because she was with him, and they must have known that I had talked to her best friend and knew that the store was closed. I had decided that I was going to end everything over the dinner so everyone knew what had actually happened and why the wedding was being called off. My fiancée was coming with her parents to dinner. I reached the venue earlier and talked with the staff to arrange a projector for me. The guests started arriving. Everyone in our immediate families and our closest friends were present for the dinner. Nuan knew, but I had told the officiant to come a bit late. My fiancée started panicking about the officiant not being there, but I smiled at her and told her that it's fine. I then said to everyone that to pass while the officiant gets here, I had to share something with everyone. Someone in the wedding party said that I can wait to make the toast later, but I said that I wanted to do it then itself. I began my speech by telling everyone how I met my fiancé and how my relationship had been so perfect. My fiancé looked at me with tears while she smiled at me. She was smiling because she didn't know what was coming for her. I told her that I'm really grateful for everything she had done for me throughout. I told everyone how she had always prioritized me and my family first. I told everyone that she is the most thoughtful woman. She thought so much about others that she started sleeping with my best friend just to help him move on. As soon as I said that line, everyone got tense. My fiancée got frozen on her spot. There was pin-drop silence in the hall as I moved my attention to my then best friend. I told everyone how we have been best friends since school. I shared a memory of how in school we punched a guy because he asked out my best friend's then girlfriend. "You really were like a brother to me," I said, looking him in the eye as I took my phone out and displayed the picture I took that day in the projector. Everyone gasped as they saw my fiancé and my best friend in bed naked together. I turned to look at my fiancé, but she was facing the floor. I then went to her and told her to never come in front of me again. I asked for my ring back. I didn't really care about the ring, but I didn't want this woman to have that piece of commitment from me. She gave it to me with shaky hands. I told her that I had already called the movers to move her stuff, so she better not enter my property ever again. Everyone was whispering things to each other while others were staring at us. I thanked everyone for coming and then told them that the wedding is over. Nuyun was shocked at this. Everything that went down, it was obvious that the wedding was not going to take place. I told her that I'll send her the bill for everything. She was shocked at this. I just shrugged and told her that she wasn't responsible anymore. Her infidelity was the reason we were calling off the wedding, so it was obvious that she was going to pay for it. With that, I exited the hall and never looked back either at my fiancé or at my best friend. They didn't try to convince me this time to let things go or for any other shit. The movers came in the next day and took away all her stuff. I made sure that nothing of hers was left behind so she could have any excuse to come back to my place. I didn't have to send her the bills. The vendors communicated to her directly since she handled everything about the wedding, and she didn't have the face to send those bills to me. I blocked her from all social media platforms, including her number. I didn't want any negativity from her in my life. I continued my life with my head held high, whereas someone told me that my ex-fiancé couldn't meet anyone's eyes and therefore had gone to another state to live with her cousins for some days. My best friend never tried to contact me either after that day. He sent my house keys to me through our mutual friend. Everyone knew about their betrayal and no one was talking to them. They were facing the consequence of their own karma. I can't help it. I'm just living my life knowing that I was faithful to my fiancée and a good friend to my best friend. I didn't deserve what they did to me. I'm taking therapy sessions to move on from this and lead a happy life. Thank you to all of you for listening till here. Update. So, it's been 6 months since I last posted and close to a year since I called off my wedding. I got to know through a mutual friend that my ex-fiancée started dating my best friend, the one she slept with. They started officially dating 2 months after the wedding was called off. They were happy initially, but as soon as other people got to know, they became the topic of gossip. They started having problems as well, and that's when my ex-best friend started cheating on her with someone from his office. She got to know this some months later. She broke up with him after that. As soon as I got to know this, I thought of sharing this with all of you here since I have shared everything else already. Update. Hello everyone, it's been 2 years since I posted about finding out that my fiancée cheated on me with my best friend. So as in my last update, I shared that she broke up with him as well. After breaking up with him, she tried to contact me again. Since she was blocked everywhere she approached me at this party, she started telling how it seems fitting to ask for my forgiveness in a party since everything began with a party as well. LOL. I laughed at her and told her that even if she was the last person on the planet, I wasn't getting with her ever again. She got quite embarrassed as I was standing with a group of people and everyone started laughing after that. She quickly ran away and never tried to approach me again. My best friend or ex-best friend also tried to approach me after their breakup. He told me that he didn't come earlier because he thought it was best to give me space. He started telling me how my friendship was the most important thing to him. He told me that it meant more to him than any girl would ever mean. I asked him if that was the case, why did he date my ex-fiancée after I called off the wedding? He knew I wouldn't like that. He was shocked at that. He thought I didn't know about them. I laughed at him and told him that I knew everything. I just didn't care. I told him I don't want friends like him in my life anymore. As far as I'm concerned, therapy helped me a lot. I have learned that I cannot carry the burden of others' mistakes on my shoulder forever. I've started to let things go. The betrayal I went through doesn't hurt so much now. I'm also quite happy with my life now. I got the promotion at work for which I was working really hard. I have some actual good friends who helped me when I felt extremely low. My family has also been really helpful. I tried to stay at my home, but there were too many memories with my ex-fiancée, so I decided to sell it off and move to another property. My friends and family helped me settle in here. Shifting finally feels like the starting of a new phase in life. I'm also seeing this beautiful woman from my work now. She knows everything that has happened to me. She is extremely understanding. We are taking things really slow now, but who knows, with time, I will find out that she's the one for me. I'm just taking my time with things. It's hard for me to trust people completely, but I'm trying. I was heartbroken after the betrayal, but time actually heals everything. At that time, I had thought, I won't date anyone ever again, but look at me now. I take everything that happened to me as more of a lesson to never trust anyone too much. People can always deceive us. Another thing this has taught me is that we should be sure about people like life partners and all. My fiancée wanted to marry me because it was going to give her a comfortable life, whereas I had thought that it was love from both sides. I turned out to be wrong there. She knew that if she married me, I'd take full responsibility for her. That was the biggest reason why she wanted the wedding so bad and even came to me after her breakup again. Anyways, thank you for all the support you have shown through comments. It means a lot to me. If you have or are going through something similar like I did, please believe when I say that time actually helps in healing every wound. Hello all the peeps of Reddit. I just needed an outlet to vent out my frustration about the things that I have recently witnessed in my life. These events have turned my life upside down, to tell the least. My name is Sean and I am 40 years old. I have been married to a lovely woman, Veronica, for almost 2 decades now. She is 5 years older than I am, but that has never been an issue with us. We did have an issue in getting our families to accept our relationship and approve of it. It took them a while to come around and believe that our love was here to stay and last longer. We did have a few bumps at the beginning to adjust with each other due to our completely different morning routines. Eventually, we hit the right balance without causing each other any inconvenience. Now we have a strong and harmonious relationship built on understanding and compromise. Our families have also come to appreciate and support our bond, realizing that age is just a number when it comes to love. We have learned to embrace our differences and use them as strengths, creating a beautiful life together filled with love, laughter, and mutual respect. Since she was older than me, she was much more established at work and earned more than I did. I would be lying if I say that it never bothered me even a bit. Though Veronica never brought it up ever in any conversation, I still deep down felt that it could be an issue someday. I couldn't help but wonder if our age difference would eventually affect our relationship dynamics. Despite my insecurities, I admired Veronica's success and tried to focus on my own growth and achievements. Veronica had always been an ambitious person. She was so engrossed in her job that she would sometimes forget about me. I knew that I should take inspiration and motivate myself to live up to her expectations. I would still feel at unease to take any financial decisions in our relationship, and she would be the one making collective decisions on our behalf. I was fine with it, as long as we were able to keep the peace in our relationship. We married pretty late in life, and I wanted us to have kids before we reached a stage where we couldn't. I had brought it up a couple of times in our discussions, which only led to loud screaming arguments between us. I got to tell you that it wasn't pretty. You would not want to mess with Veronica when she is angry or frustrated. She would never let you win the argument. Her fiery temper and unwavering determination made it clear that she was not going to back down easily. Despite the heated disagreements, I couldn't help but admire her strong-willed nature. It became evident that finding a compromise on this matter would require patience and understanding from both of us. After a lot of back and forth with each other, Veronica said that she was willing to start a family. I was relieved more than happy that I would not have to deal with Veronica and her anger anymore. When Veronica turned 35, we had our first babies. It was a set of twins. They were a handful right from the day they were born. Thank God we had our parents to rely on for taking care of the boys when we were both drained. Both our parents would take turns to help us with babysitting the boys so that we could focus on our jobs. Having their support made a huge difference in managing the demands of parenthood and maintaining our careers. We are forever grateful for their unwavering love and assistance during those challenging early years. Veronica and I had no time for each other during the first 2 years of our kids growing up. It was difficult to handle 2 kids and also work and have enough sleep. She took a maternity leave and was back at work to support the family. I did not earn enough to ask her to quit her job, and I had no say in the finances anymore. She was the one running the entire show all by herself. I did feel ignored at times when she would make decisions by herself. We did have a few arguments about it, but she said that she had no cure for my inferiority complex. I would much appreciate it if she would stay at home taking care of the kids. I knew that she had completely changed after having kids. She became vile in the way she spoke to me. It was as if she despised me for getting her to agree to having kids. I pushed through despite her rudeness because deep down I knew that she did not mean any of it. She was just sleep-deprived and tired and needed rest. Our parents took turns to stay with us and witnessed all the arguments we had. They would console each of us and always tell us that the first 2 years are always difficult. We would get by each other once the kids grew a little older. I wondered if that was ever possible. I could not take Veronica hating me anymore. I loved her, and I wanted her to acknowledge it. Just like how our parents predicted, as the boys grew older, we had less sleepless nights and a little free time at hand. Finally, the difficult times were coming to an end. I could see that Veronica had relaxed a bit and was getting back to her happier self. As our boys became more independent, Veronica and I were able to reconnect and spend quality time together. We started going on date nights again, laughing and enjoying each other's company like we used to. It was a relief to see our relationship flourishing once more after the challenging early years of parenthood. When the boys turned 6, we both agreed to let them stay with my parents for their school, and we could visit them over weekends. It was not much of a problem as the boys were used to staying with their grandparents. I was not so happy with this decision, but I knew that this was a necessary step to take so that we both could focus on our jobs for our kids' future. Veronica was due for a promotion, and she said that she did not want having kids around to ruin her chance of getting promoted. Though I would not have put it like that, it did hurt me that she felt like our kids were an obstacle in her career. I so wished that I could see my boys growing up, but at the same time, I knew that they would be under the guidance of my parents. We could always drive down whenever we wanted to see them. This was a way of keeping them safe. This is what we told ourselves after making this decision. Veronica had started focusing on her career again. She was engrossed in her job, fighting her way, and giving her best to get that promotion that she always wanted. All this led to her always being busy at work. She would come home drained and tired, eat, and go to bed. I wished that with the boys not around anymore, we could spend some quality time together, which could help us reduce the distance that had been created. I realized that it was not something that would be happening at least till she gets that promotion. I did not want to ruin her focus, so I started spending more and more time at my best friend, Joshua's place. He was divorced and had no intention of marrying again. He did have a lot of affairs going on and had one girlfriend in every part of town. He was a true ladies' man. Sometimes, I did envy his life. We had been friends since high school, and I wondered how our lives turned out to be completely different as we grew up. I was happy to have him as my support through all these years. He was my go-to man for any advice I needed since he knew me inside out. I would sometimes discuss my married life problems with him, and he would try to give me mature advice, and at times he would joke around and ask me to get a divorce, as it was the easiest solution to the problem. After 6 months of distancing myself from Veronica to give her space, she called me one day and broke the news about her promotion. It was time to celebrate. We decided to have a family get-together over the weekend to celebrate Veronica's success. I had invited Joshua to come along as he was the only one keeping me sane all this while. Veronica, Joshua, and I drove off to my parents' place for the gathering. Veronica looked stunning in the red dress, which I remember was the one she wore on our first date. It was awesome seeing her fit into her old clothes at her age, even after giving birth. I was mesmerized by the way she looked hot and really wanted us to have a special night today. As she walked towards me, I noticed that Joshua had been staring at her intently. I knocked his spoon and he said that I was a lucky man. I could tell that Joshua was messing with me. He always did that. We had a great conversation and spent a wonderful time with our parents and kids. We were supposed to spend the night with my parents as it was Sunday tomorrow. We all retired to our rooms to call it a night after midnight. I was eagerly waiting for Veronica to walk into our room so that I could pounce on her to have a steamy night of action. Finally, she came in and we kissed. God, I forgot what it felt like. We had a sensuous session of lovemaking, and it reminded me of the first time we were together. Veronica went to the bathroom and said that she would be getting some water for the night. I drifted off to sleep after all the driving that I had been doing since morning. I woke up after 30 minutes and could not find Veronica anywhere in the room. I was puzzled and thought to look for her in the kitchen. As I went downstairs, I heard someone talking. I went into the living area and saw that Veronica and Joshua had been talking to each other. They looked at me, and Veronica walked towards me laughing. I did not understand what was happening. Veronica told me that Joshua had been sharing stories from my school days with her, and she did not know that I was such a naughty kid. I did laugh with them, but I did feel a little uncomfortable at their closeness. I wanted to have some alone time with Veronica to curb the growing distance between us. Maybe it was a bad idea to have brought Joshua along. I told Joshua that it was getting late and he is the one who would be driving tomorrow, so he should go to bed. All of us went to our rooms, and it took me a long time to fall asleep. I could not let the image of Veronica laughing with Joshua out of my head. We bid goodbye to everyone the next morning and started our way back home. Everything was normal between Veronica and Joshua. I was cursing myself for being too judgmental about both of them. I was jumping to conclusions way too early. Maybe they were just catching up and Veronica was trying to get to know me better to help our relationship. Why was I not thinking straight? It could have been just that. The ride home was quiet and non-eventful. We dropped Joshua and went home. As soon as we reached home, Veronica started undressing herself and pulled me closer. We quickly started undressing each other and enjoyed every bit of our lovemaking session. I could tell that even Veronica had been craving for my body the same way I was hungry to get closer to her. Things had slowly started getting normal between us. We were spending our time together even in our hectic work schedules. It was as if we were back in our honeymoon phase of our marriage. We would come home and pounce on each other, trying out new things in the bedroom. I started realizing that it was not a bad decision to have the kids grow up away from us. We were mostly busy at work and hardly stayed at home. I did understand Veronica's point and even agreed that she was a good mother who did what was best for her kids, even if it meant making them stay away from her. We made sure that they were in the best school and had everything that they needed to excel at school. This also gave me and Veronica enough time to sort out our differences and give each other time. We tried to make sure that we go on dates, spend quality time together, and communicate regularly to maintain a strong relationship. Despite the physical distance, we made it a priority to be emotionally present for our children and provide them with love and support whenever they needed it. Additionally, we made efforts to create special memories as a family during holidays and vacations to strengthen our bond even further. Our kids are 9 years old now and still staying with my parents. I was slowly starting to earn a decent amount of money. I discussed with Veronica that maybe it was time for the boys to come home. They are big enough to be left at home, even if we were at work. She immediately was against the idea. I was shocked by her response, as I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting her to be jumping with joy when she heard this, but then again, what was I thinking? It was Veronica. She enjoyed her freedom and was a workaholic. Having the kids would mean that she would have to come home early and make herself available for them. This led to me being disappointed in her again. I wondered if she would ever want them to come back home. I did not want to fill myself with negative thoughts and decided that I should give her some time to think it over and process the idea of us living together as a family. I did not push this discussion further and let it rest. I mentioned this to Joshua about the reaction I got from Veronica, and he asked me to give her some time and she would definitely come around. I felt that it was the right thing to do. As days progressed, I never once brought up the idea of getting the boys home and living together as a family. I did not want to ruin the peace and quiet that I and Veronica had finally achieved after a lot of struggle. However, deep down, I couldn't ignore the longing for a complete family unit. The thought of having the boys back home tugged at my heartstrings, reminding me of the love and joy they brought into our lives. I was thinking of getting the boys home after our 20th anniversary and wanted to beg Veronica to let them stay with us. I knew it wouldn't be easy, as Veronica had made it clear in the past that she preferred our peaceful life without the boys. But I couldn't shake off the feeling that it was time to reunite and create a stronger bond as a family. Perhaps by discussing my feelings openly with Veronica, we could find a way to compromise and make our home a loving and welcoming space for all of us. Our 20th anniversary was approaching soon. I thought that this was the right opportunity for me to close the distance between me and Veronica. I was preparing for our 20-year anniversary as a surprise for my wife. I wanted it to be much more memorable till the next decade. I was supercharged and wanted to give it my all. I hired a professional event organizer to make sure that everything would be perfect, with no errors. I was very keen to participate in all the decisions from shortlisting, the venue, decoration, guest list, and the entertainment. I had taken help from both our parents to make a collage of our childhood pictures, along with our pictures with the boys to depict our 20 years journey together. I also arranged for a live band to play our favorite songs throughout the night, ensuring a romantic and nostalgic atmosphere. Additionally, I reached out to close friends and family members to prepare heartfelt speeches and toasts, making the evening even more special with their heartfelt words. I also planned to buy a few gifts for Veronica to pamper her on our wedding anniversary. I was taking advice from Joshua about the perfume that I should be using for our special night together. I made him come along with me, and as we were testing samples, there was one perfume that I really liked the smell of. I asked Joshua for a second opinion, and he grabbed a perfume and said that this is what Veronica is using nowadays. Well, that was awkward. How could Joshua probably know the kind of perfume Veronica had been using lately, unless he was super close to smelling it on her? Joshua had always been popular among the ladies, so I just thought that he was bragging about how well he knew women. I just left it at that, as I did not want it to get on my nerves. I already had a lot to prepare and could not have my mind wander around on unnecessary things. I decided to go with my instincts for the other gifts that I wanted to buy for Veronica. I wanted them to be of my choice. I believed that if I was Veronica's choice, then she would love what I got her. I know that didn't make sense, but it made me feel better about myself. In the end, I realized that the most important thing was to show Veronica how much I cared for her. So, I carefully selected gifts that reflected her interests and personality, hoping they would bring a smile to her face. Trusting my instincts allowed me to find unique and meaningful presents that truly captured our connection. It was 2 weeks for our anniversary, and I was acting too cool about it, not letting Veronica know what I had been planning. I was on my phone constantly with the event manager, making sure that everything was going as planned. Veronica did question me about who it was. I had cold feet and lied that it was one of my friend's girlfriends who needed help, though she didn't buy it but didn't question it any further. I knew that I had to be careful if I didn't want Veronica to catch wind of what I had been planning. I made sure to keep my excitement in check whenever we talked about our upcoming anniversary, trying my best to act nonchalant. As the day approached, I became even more vigilant, making sure not to slip up and reveal any details that could give away the surprise. I thought the best approach would be to stay as busy as I could and not be caught off guard by Veronica. I started telling her that things have been hectic at work, and I would have to put in extra hours to be on top of things. I tried to take Joshua's help with trying to cover for me. Veronica would call Joshua to ask him about my whereabouts, and I asked him to lie that I had been busy with work. Things were going as planned, and I had all of the gifts ready and in place, just like I had imagined. I booked a hotel suite to celebrate by ourselves after the celebrations with friends and family. I chose the music and the lingerie along with the perfume and other props that could help increase the fun much more. We were 1 week away from our anniversary. As all the preparations were almost ready, I decided to go home early. I did not want Veronica to disregard my request to meet me at the venue when the day arrived. I knew she was pissed for a while now, and I did not want to aggravate her even more by completely avoiding her till the end. I reached home and was about to open the garage door when I saw a familiar car parked near the sidewalk. It was Joshua's car with its engine running. I thought maybe he had come to meet me, which was strange, as he did not call or text me beforehand. I was about to give him a shout when I saw Veronica walk out of the door towards Joshua. I was expecting her to let him know that I was not at home and get inside. To my surprise, she got into the car and they rode off. I had no choice, and without thinking, I followed them. I was getting restless, unable to make sense of what was happening. I was still positive that it was nothing serious. Maybe Veronica was also planning something in secret and was taking Joshua's help to make it happen. Yes, that was a reasonable explanation. They drove to a motel and parked outside. They got out and went into the motel. I quietly followed them and was hoping and praying that this was not what I was thinking. They took the keys to a room and left. I followed them to the room. I was waiting in the hallway trying to process the events unfolding in front of my eyes. I was unsure whether I should knock on the door and confront them or leave. I was not ready for what I would witness. My heartbeat had drastically increased. I was unable to think straight. After about 15 minutes of hyperventilating and running all kinds of scenarios in my head, I decided to see for myself. I knocked and waited for them to open up. After about 5 minutes, Joshua opened the door and the color left his face when he saw me at the door. I knew that expression. It was the one you have when you get caught in the act. I pushed him away and walked into the room. There lay Veronica on the bed, naked in all her glory. She looked at me and covered herself. Seriously, I have seen that body naked all my life. What was she hiding, really? She was my wife, and she was covering herself from me. My heart sank and I was left speechless. I thought that I was getting a heart attack, but it was just pain in my heart from the betrayal. I did not know who to talk to first. My best friend, who I just found naked in bed with my wife, or my wife for whom I have been going all lengths to plan a splendid surprise. I finally decided to address both at the same time. I looked at them both and said, "How could they do this to me?" Joshua was sorry, at least that is what he said. He didn't mean to go through with it, but Veronica kept pushing him to the corner by throwing herself at him. I knew that Joshua always had a weakness for women. I recollected all the times he was looking lustfully at Veronica. It might not have been just her who was at fault. They both were equally responsible for this betrayal. I looked at Veronica, expecting her to give an explanation for her behavior. To my surprise, instead of feeling apologetic and guilty about it, she lashed back at me. She told me that she would not have gone so far if I had not cheated on her first. I was speechless after listening to this. When and how did she come to this conclusion that I had cheated on her? I didn't know if she was serious or it was her defense to get out of this situation. She told me that she knew that I had been cheating on her for quite some time now. She told me that she knew that I was not working extra hours and I was not helping any of my friends' girlfriends, but actually having an affair. I did not if I had to laugh at it or feel shocked at these baseless allegations. I told her that I was planning a surprise for our anniversary and did not want her to know about it. I told her that Joshua was already aware of this and I had no intention of cheating on her as I loved her through all my heart. She looked at Joshua in shock and amazement at this revelation. I was waiting for Joshua to confirm what he knew. Joshua agreed that he knew about my surprise party. But at the same time, he could not disregard the physical tension between Veronica and him. There had been instances where they almost went all the way, but due to my relationship with them, they tried to hold themselves back. He unveiled a few incidents that I was unaware of. Veronica kept asking him to stop talking nonsense and that there was no need for all of this. I understood that there was more to this encounter, and this was not the first time something like this had conspired between Veronica and Joshua. My mind immediately went to the day when we celebrated Veronica's promotion. They both were hitting it off quite well even that day after everyone was asleep. I had blind trust in both of these people, and they led me down and how. She cheated on me with my best friend. I was not only losing the love of my life, but also my closest friend. I had no words and my mind went blank. I knew that I had to get to the bottom of this as it could not have been a chance encounter. I asked Veronica to let Joshua talk and she can put her points across later. I did not want to deal with her right now. I knew that Joshua had nothing to lose even if he told me everything truthfully. For now, I was willing to trust Joshua and asked him to let me know how it all started. Joshua said that he would tell me everything that had happened as he did not want to lie to me anymore. I scoffed. After ruining everything that I cared about, he was telling me that he did not want to lie? Was this guy really serious right now? He started with the day we were celebrating Veronica's promotion. When they accidentally bumped into each other, there was this weird sexual tension between them. They started talking and could feel their eyes lingering on each other's body. They kissed each other, and when they heard someone coming, they distanced themselves. After that day, they tried to constantly avoid each other. They had been successful for a few years after that. They managed to let it go as a weak moment and never thought about it. This came as breaking news to me. No wonder I felt uncomfortable with their closeness that day. I then realized that Veronica showering me with all her love after we got back was only because she felt guilty about the kiss that they shared. It was not because she missed me or our relationship. It was all making sense now. Last year, when we met for my birthday again at home, fireworks exploded between them. They tried their best to ignore the tension and act like nothing had happened, but the chemistry between them was undeniable. It was as if all those suppressed feelings had resurfaced, stronger than ever. I collapsed on the floor as I couldn't stand anymore. I felt weak in my knees listening to all of this and wondered how blind I had been to not notice any of this happening right under my nose. They denied their feelings as they both knew that what they were feeling for each other was very wrong. They knew that their relationship could end up in them losing me in the process. Once again, they suppressed their feelings and moved on with their respective lives. Things changed when 2 weeks ago, Veronica called Joshua to ask him about my whereabouts. He told her that I was at work just like I had requested him. Veronica asked him to meet her as she wanted to discuss something important about me. They met at the burger joint where she told Joshua that she suspects me of having an affair. Joshua laughed about it and said that it was not possible. She said that she could see all the red flags right in front of her eyes. I was coming home late, always on the phone, avoiding her even on weekends. She knew that something fishy was going on. He assured her that she was just being paranoid and that there was nothing going on with me. While they were leaving, she hugged him to thank him for listening to her and making her feel a bit relaxed about the situation. This brought back old memories, and they couldn't resist and kissed each other. Joshua realized what was happening and tried to pull away, but Veronica deepened the kiss. After a lot of restraint, he gave in and kissed her back. He asked her to leave and not to meet him alone again. 2 days after that, Veronica called Joshua again and started crying over the phone. She asked him to come home as she found proof of me cheating on her. He came home and she showed him the gifts that I had been collecting for our anniversary. There was a ring among all the other things that I had bought for her. She said that this was solid proof of me cheating on her. Joshua tried to console her, but she kept on weeping and said things like she had always tried to be loyal and this is what she got in return. She started kissing him, and before they realized, they were in our bed naked, making love to each other. Veronica told him that it was the best sex she had had in years. Joshua could not help but feel so great about him. He knew that he was attracted to her. He even had dreams of making love to her. At the back of his head, he knew that what they were doing was morally wrong, but he couldn't stop himself. This was the first time that they had crossed the line, but it was not going to be the last. After that day, they had been meeting each other quite frequently, always on the phone, sexting each other about what they would do when they met. Me being oblivious of all this was getting ready for our grand anniversary, running from pillar to post to make it the most memorable day of Veronica's life. Here she was, having the greatest sex of her life with my best friend. Joshua told me that he was willing to stop after today. He felt bad that they had been doing this behind my back, and he valued my friendship enough that he did not want to ruin it. I did not know what to say after the entire truth was disclosed. I was not even sure if this was the entire truth. They might be things that both of them were still hiding from me so that I don't die of a heart attack right away. I couldn't shake the feeling that this affair could be one of the reasons why Veronica did not want the boys to come home and start living with us. Obviously, with no one around, it would be much easier for Joshua to come in and out of the house. I can't imagine how long this would go on if I hadn't decided to come home early today and catch them red-handed. I am sure they would have continued their secret affair as long as they could, till someday I would catch up to it. I looked at Veronica, who had been weeping all this while. She came to me and sat beside me. She said that she was sure that I had been cheating on her. She was too upset about it, and that was the only reason she went this far. I could not come to terms with her stupid explanation that she cheated on me because she thought I had been cheating on her. I felt a mix of anger and confusion as I tried to comprehend Veronica's reasoning. It seemed irrational to me that she would resort to infidelity instead of having an open conversation about her concerns. I mean, it was all sounding ridiculous and getting more and more laughable as they disclosed why they had done what they did. I left the motel room and started walking outside. I had no idea where I would go and what I should do. I have no idea what I should do and how I should react to this. It has been 2 days, and I still can't wrap my head around what I witnessed. There is no sign of Veronica for the past 2 days. She did try to call me and ask for forgiveness, but I am not in the right frame of mind to talk to her. I have no idea if there is something that I would even want to talk to her about. What should I tell her if I ever run into her? How would I tell my kids what is wrong between us? I mean, they are going to be 10 soon, and if they know that their mother had been cheating, I am scared that it would have an impact on their mental health. I could not believe that Veronica would take such a step, and what was absurd was that Joshua was aware of what I had been planning for our anniversary. Not once did he try to let her know that she was completely mistaken about me and that I was planning something for her. This would have saved both our friendship and my marriage. I understood that he had no intention of saving anything and was only thinking about himself. I'm not sure if I would be able to trust anyone ever in my life. I trusted Joshua, who was my brother, throughout my life. Veronica, the mother of my kids, was someone I would take a bullet for. So I am here asking you guys on Reddit to help me with advice on what I should do going forward. How should I go about it? Any advice, however weird it is, will be appreciated. I am sure the advice could not get as weird as the situation I am in. Looking forward to anyone who is in a similar situation to share their story so that I can get some perspective on how to go about handling and dealing with this situation.